Welcome back to Etheria Restart. Today we're here to talk about, for all of you brand new players to the game, 6 mistakes that you want to avoid doing because they could be brutal to your account in the initial stages of the game. Now, Hermes and I just put out a video on some of the top 10 tips for you guys to know when you're starting the game. Make sure you check out that video as well. But this one is about the few things that you want to avoid. And before we go any further, I need to thank Etheria Restart for sponsoring today's video and urge all of you to join us inside of the game. You could scan the QR code or click my link in the description, get yourself pre-registered, and join us inside of Etheria Restart. Hermes, we were here to talk about the bad stuff, the mistakes that we have both made on our journey inside of the game. And the first one is regarding our gear. Equipping gear and more importantly, upgrading gear. Take us through some of the mistakes that you made regarding your gear when you were leveling up and gearing your Animus.
What I did was I leveled up the early game gear to too high of a level. So you can see now I'm getting a lot more of this epic gear, this gold tier gear, but in the early stages you get a lot more of this rare and fine gear. And I was thinking, okay, this is probably going to be good. It's going to sustain me through my early game until I get up into the mid game. So I'm just going to go ahead and upgrade this gear to a high level. And really, it really stunted my growth because I lost so much Ethereum coin. I think it was well over 500,000 Ethereum coin that I just basically burned while going in and leveling up this crap gear. I think you should only really level your rare and your fine gear to, at most, I'd say level 6. And then really once you start getting into the unique and the epic gear and then higher is when you should really start focusing on upgrading that gear as opposed to the stuff that you're really going to only use for about a day, maybe two in the game.
Yeah, I'm glad that you gave us the insight on how high you should level it, because at the end of the day, when we're starting the game, we do have to level up our gear. We can't just go in naked and fight these battles with no gear at all. So I'm glad that you gave us a cap of how high we should bring that lower level gear, just so that we don't waste any of that Ethereum coin. All right, so number 2 has to do with Animus and what they actually do inside of the game. Now, I'll call myself guilty for this as well. You go into battles, you want to level up random Animus, but we really should know and understand their kits and what they do so that we can most effectively put together a good team, but also learn the game while we're playing. So what's your second mistake?
My second mistake is really I just did not understand what any of the buffs, debuffs, or who did a good amount of damage and who wasn't built for damage. Because when you go in and you look at other people, all these anima skills, they all say, oh, it does like a portion of their dealing 200% damage to a single enemy with a 60% chance to purify debuffs. On this champion, what is it, Chaki the Echo? You think, oh, 200% damage, that sounds great. But really, when you look at the rest of her kit, she is not at all a damage healer. She's actually a turn meter booster. And just by simply trying to maximize her damage, you're really stunting her potential in the game. And that's what I was doing early on, is I was putting on all of this damage dealing gear onto my support champions that really have no real need to have any of that gear on and are more focused on the buffs that they bring or how they can debuff the enemies. And that really stunted me early on because I just wasn't understanding what all of my animus did.
Yeah, that's a good tip for long term inside of the game as well. We're going to continuously unlock new Animus. There's going to be new Animus that come to the game, and understanding what they do, especially now that it's early on and there's not hundreds of Animus to learn at one time. It's a great way for us to start here with the number of Animus that we have, learn as we go, and progress with the game. Now, let's talk about Animus imprints, and specifically Leanne, because I know Leanne's probably the first SSR that everyone gets. Everyone's so excited because they got Leanne, and they're going to throw all of those imprints into her. So why is that a mistake?
Why it's a mistake is that you really want to focus putting all of your imprints. So imprints down here are what basically upgrades the skill of your animus. So you have different tiers you need to unlock. They're in a whole separate area in the challenges, and these are very much a limited resource. But using those and your perfect lattice, you're able to upgrade the skill levels of your animus. Especially SSR is really hard to get a lot of these materials that you need. And so you look at mine, and you go, well, you've already got her over level skill level 2. The reason why is simply because I had to do missions. You'll see I still have this perfect lattice sitting around, and I'm not using it on her because I'm waiting. I haven't decided if I want to use it on Tiamat or if I want to find an even better, try to wait till I pull a better SSR to actually put on that perfect skill lattice as well as these additional materials. Now, I did go one past simply just to get this speed, but I'm not trying to upgrade her too much. I'm only doing as much as I need to do in the hyperlink charter, which follows basically upgrading her as one of your first damage dealers.
So essentially, what you're saying is you're being a little bit frugal with all of your materials because you're not 100% sure that she's going to be the one you want to drop everything into, correct?
Exactly. That is exactly what I'm saying.
All right, that's smart. And especially when in the early game you don't have a ton of these materials, save them until your decisions are solid and you know exactly what animus you want to be running with. All right, we also have to worry about actually enjoying the game as we go. This is something that's often overlooked. But inside of any game that you play, you'll look at other players, your friends list, and you'll say, oh man, I am just behind everyone. And in doing that, you'll find yourself starting to rush your gameplay and really just not enjoy the process of the gameplay and instead just kind of push through to try and gain levels to be closer to your friends. Why is that a mistake?
Well, what happened to me is that I was kind of looking online at all this content that was coming out, and I was going, look at where all these people are. They're 3 days in, and I'm comparing myself that was also 3 days in. I'm not like 4 or 5 in now. And I was looking and I'm going, man, I am at 10 levels behind them in the game. I haven't unlocked all this content. And so I really was just like, man, I'm just not good at playing this game. I just don't understand what's going on. And so instead of me trying to go, okay, now what can I learn from that? Instead, what I was doing is I was just going, man, I'm just not as good as these other people. And it made me really not enjoy the game or enjoy trying to find new challenges to do or anything else like that. And instead, I was going, I'm just not as good. So why am I playing in the first place? When in reality, I'm doing well for where I'm at, considering I haven't played this game before. And that's really what has helped me to start enjoying the game more. Is I'm like, all right, now I'm starting to grind out. I'm getting to higher levels on these different dungeon areas and these challenges, and I'm really starting to enjoy the game. Is like, okay, taking it at my pace instead of somebody else's.
I think that's really important, right? Because although this game has a massive PvP element, which I love, it's also very much a build up your roster of Animus and build up your account, strengthen your account, and that's a huge part of what we're doing here. And then you take all of that build that you've put together, and you bring it over into the arenas. So, great tip there. We always need to remember, no matter what game we're playing, that we enjoy what we're doing. Now, at number 5, we have our notes here, and you're screaming at me with this one because it's obviously a very important one. It says, get out of the Freya banner. Why is the Freya banner a mistake?
So the reason why, and I didn't really realize this when I did, and this is why this is another one of my big mistakes, is that when you actually go into the Freya banner, the only SSR animus you can pull from when you pull on her banner is Freya herself.
Mm-hmm.
And so I pulled mine within the first 20 pulls that I did on that banner. And so I was like, oh great, I got Freya. And I figured, oh, I'll just keep doing that. If I get more of her, I can empower, but then I can get other SSR champion or animus as well. And what I then realized is that when you come in here, you can empower them, right? So I've got an additional 5% base HP, defense, and attack, as well as an additional 12% effect accuracy. But I then went in and I actually pulled on one 10 pull, I pulled a double SSR, but because it was only Freya, I got two additional ones. That's why I have her now two times empowered. And it really stunted me because what happens if I'd gotten two insane SSR animus? And instead, all I did was pull on Freya. And I really is not what you want to do. What you want to do instead is just once you pull your Freya, it's not worth staying in that banner. You want to come down here just to permanent summons and just do some summons there. And we'll see now if I get anything good as we're talking.
Oh,
But
nice.
that's really what you want to do is go down to that permanent banner.
Yeah, we got some streamer luck right now. Throw a like on the video. Let's see if we can get anything good and new in here.
I know, right? Let's see.
So, wouldn't some people look at getting multiple? You didn't. Getting multiple Freyas as a positive thing because then you could upgrade her. I mean, I can see people looking at it in that way, right? Like, I'll just keep pulling Freyas until I get her to max level. Is it that she's just not a good enough animist to be investing that much into?
So she is a really good animus to investing into, right? Like she's great overall. Now, two things to consider with this. Number one, if you're early game like we are right now,
Mhm.
it is when you pull an SSR, it can really be game changing. If you get like one of the better, like one of the best ones, it can be completely game changing. It'll unlock a new area of content for you. Whereas pulling a duplicate will only get you that extra 5% stats or that extra effect accuracy if you're for the first two. And what really something else to consider with that is that I'm almost positive, and like I've seen things about this before, is that all of these empowerment bonuses are turned off in arena. So arena, you feel like is the spot where you need those stats the most. They've turned that off to make it a little bit more free to play friendly in arena, but then it really just doesn't benefit you. And so the opportunity to get an additional SSR is so much more valuable than it is to get copies of a animus like Freya. That like if you're spending a ton of money, then go out and get your fully maxed out Freya. But if you're starting out, you're trying to save and be conservative, really what you want to do is go in and try to get some more SSR animus.
Thank you so much for that extra context because that extra description and information right there really was massive. Specifically because in Arena, those upgrades won't even matter, which is really, I mean, obviously we want to push through bigger bosses and different stages of the game, but at least for me, I love Arena. So just knowing if I get the SSRs unlocked, I don't need to go get all of those duplicates for it to have some type of an advantage in Arena. So really great extra context on our fifth mistake, which takes us to our final mistake, number 6. And it has to do with overwhelming yourself with gameplay. I mean, this is a brand new game and there's a lot of depth to it. If you put your expectations too high and you just expect to know everything about the game when you first start playing, you're going to get discouraged, and then you could potentially put down a game that's an incredible one. So give us your insight on your sixth mistake.
Yeah, so I came in here and I went, and obviously, you got to unlock these things as go on. But now I'm sitting up here at level 25,
Mhm.
and you've now got here in the challenges, you've got what is it unlocked? I have 9 challenges, different areas of challenges unlocked. You've got 2 different areas of arena. You've got this ton of hyperlink charter missions to do, and then you've also got all these event tabs with all these little different things, and you can get I got more stuff. And so there's so much going on. And I was like, I need to understand everything right now
Yeah.
instead of going back to the basics, going in and going, okay, what do my quests want me to do? What does the hyperlink charter say? And just following those things. And instead, I was getting pulled in so many different directions, going, well, I want to try out all these new different areas. So you see, like this GP outpost, I haven't even gotten to that yet because I'm already trying to focus on farming other areas that are going to help me progress further than is getting those additional levels right now, right this second.
All right, so you just gave us 6 big mistakes. I think a lot of them were about quality of life and mental health inside of playing these types of games, so I really appreciate those. But the question I'm going to close out this video with that I want to ask everyone that's still watching as well is, what was your biggest mistake in your first handful of days playing Etheria Restart? What's the one that you said, I wish that was the mistake I didn't make? And everyone else, sound off down below. I want to see the mistakes you made as well.
Oh boy, I definitely think that as much as pulling a bunch of dupe Freyas was bad, it really was coming in here and leveling all of that gear because I have now sold it all off. And so I'm looking at all of these like level 12 and level 15 modules that I just had to sell off because there's no reason to keep them around and going, there is so much more silver invested or Ethereum coin invested in this than I actually got out of it. And it just hurts when you had to click that recycle button. So that was definitely my biggest mistake.
Well, I think that this is a great video, saving many players that are just diving into the game now from making the same mistakes that we've made. So I appreciate you coming back onto the video. Again, I want to thank Etheria Restart for sponsoring today's video. And if you guys haven't played and this has inspired you to dive into this beautiful JRPG, please use this QR code, which supports me and my channel, as well as my link in the description to get yourself into Etheria Restart. We have guides, tips, tricks, and all of that coming for all of you soon. Subscribe to the channel, and we'll see you in the next one.